Yo, 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 good morning. Grateful for another maggot-free day above the dirt, Jersey Shore. Check it out. So, this video is called You Need to Get a Real Teacher. And I know I write a lot and I speak a lot about how the Buddha said, find your own way, carve your own path, be a light unto yourself. Don't take his word for it, go by your own experience. And that's still all true. But he never said, and I've certainly never said he said it, or I've never said it on my own, that you do that without following guidance from someone that's walked the path before you. That's really important. Reading books help, and putting the teachings into action the best you can by yourself helps, of course. But if you really want to go the deepest you can into practice and really, really get skillful at turning the teachings into practical, skillful, appropriate application in your daily life, you need a teacher. And my observing of the world, the spiritual world today, seems that that's not really much of a prerequisite for practitioners anymore. And I'm shocked at how many people are putting themselves out there as teachers with very little training or guidance from an established teacher. It's important. There's things that a teacher-student relationship cultivates that you just can't create any other way. The intimacy, the personal exchange is vital. So how do we find, the right teacher? How do we find a legitimate teacher? So I can only share my experience. I kind of bounced around Buddhism for 15 years. I was serious, but I went to many different teachers, many different meditation groups, many different retreats, workshops, Dharma talks, and just never felt a connection with anyone that really pulled me in that one direction. And then I did. So my first thing is, do you feel a personal connection and energy with this person that draws you to them? Now, let me be clear. This can't be about personality or charisma. Sometimes the pull can and maybe should be that you dislike the teacher because they're saying things that you need to hear but don't want to. Maybe they're telling a truth that is rubbing you the wrong way because it's a truth you need to hear. So I don't ever mean to say that energy or that draw to a teacher is based on mutual affection, though that will come even with a teacher you dislike at first. It has to come by, are you hearing what you need to hear? Do you intrinsically know that this is the person for you because they're absolutely on point with what you need to hear and with the truth? The second thing for me is this person walking their talk? In other words, are they actualizing the teachings in their day-to-day life? And the way to determine this and discern this is through observing them. So for me, a big red flag is if you don't get access to a teacher's life, and not necessarily their extremely intimate personal life, but into their life out of the context and setting of a spiritual experience. Meaning, it's not in a temple, it's not in a zendo, it's not in a meditation center, it's not in a ashram, it's not while doing service work. It's in a context that's made up of normal day-to-day difficulties and experiences. And, just a little bit of access into that can show you a lot. So that's important to me as well. The resume is important. What have they done in their own practice? What was their training? Did they follow a credentialed teacher? Did they have a committed practice of going to retreats, of going to workshops, of one-on-one work with this teacher? That's important. And is your teacher, or is the teacher you're considered choosing, are they still doing it? Are they still practicing? I got to get up because I'm about to get soaked with water. The waves are rolling in, high tide. Is this person still a student? That's huge. A good teacher will always remain a student because they understand the journey never ends. There's no way to know everything or master anything. There's just transformation, transcendence, and evolution. So a good teacher will present themselves as someone just further ahead on the path, sharing their experience. And a good teacher is open to the lessons that students can teach them. So that all said, I also feel that everyone is my teacher, right? We can learn something from everyone in every experience, but that doesn't mean we have to make them our teacher, right? There can be, a teacher or someone expounding a teaching that resonates with us. It doesn't mean we even have respect for their practice in the sense of, we don't consider them a teacher. We don't consider, maybe we've observed them doing things that are not so appropriate in their lives. But the reality is we can take the teaching that resonates with us and utilize it without being swept into maybe a cult of personality or just, sticking around because the person has some kind of charisma. On the other side of that coin, someone with longevity in practice that has been with credentialed teachers for a long time, that doesn't guarantee that they're a teacher that has assimilated the teachings into their life too. They can be, and we've seen this a lot, extremely knowledgeable, wise, insightful, articulate people that can really convey the teachings, but can't live them. So again, we just take this all in a general consciousness as we're pursuing our own practice. The important thing, I think, is also a good teacher wants their student to evolve past them. A good teacher will urge the student to leave because they're done teaching them. That's really, really important. And it's also really important to understand that as a student, you have the right to leave a teacher when you feel that that journey has reached its conclusion. That takes, an extreme honesty and an extreme clarity about your intention. But at the same time, it's vital to evolve and know that we might need something different. Abandon teachings or teachers that don't resonate any longer. There's nothing wrong with having more than one teacher. I know a lot of traditional people will say, no, practice is not a smorgasbord. It's not this eclectic mix of stuff. You got to stick with one tradition and one teacher. That personally hasn't necessarily worked with me. I always have had several teachers at one time. I mean, there's been times I've been, have had one teacher, but for the most part, most of my practice, I've had several teachers in different traditions, and they all benefit me in some way, and that's worked for me. That, to me, really is an actualization of the Buddha saying, find what works for you and cultivate your path, and be a light unto yourself. So my practice is rooted in different traditions with different teachers, though it does have its priority. My priority is Zen Buddhism, but I do have a Tibetan teacher, and I do have a Vipassana teacher, and I do have a Bhakti teacher. So, and another thing is, and I talked about this a little, the teacher's still practicing as a student. Personally, I have a daily practice. I receive daily teachings from at least one of my teachers, and still my priority is my own practice. And part of my practice is service through is sharing my experience and what I've learned. And my main motivation is to save people from making the same mistakes I've made. A teacher doesn't want you to take as long as it took them. Each teacher, each generation should make it easier for the next generation, not harder. That's why, it's important to that a teacher is saying, even a teacher saying they don't have the answer for you, maybe inquire here, maybe inquire there. So listen, I've spoken a lot, and I'll end it there. But I cannot stress enough, get a valid teacher if you truly want to get the most out of the teachings and the most out of your practice and hence your life. Find the guidance of a teacher you can trust. Super, super important, and I think it's a huge piece of practice that's completely being disregarded right now. So have a great maggot-free day above the dirt. Peace out.